Welcome into our Saints post-game show alongside Scott Shanley, John DeShazer. I'm Erin Summers. The Saints get a 35-14 win over the Cleveland Browns. They are now 4-7 on the season. It was the Taysom Hill show today. 206 total yards, 3 touchdowns, and we're not going to talk about some of the mistakes that happened. No, we are. We are going to mention those. But in the end, Taysom Hill delivered for the Saints. JD, what did you like about the way he was used today?
Well, I like that he had the ball in his hands. And I mean, when Taysom Hill has the ball in his hands, it's generally a good thing for the Saints offense. He did have a couple of miscues, but he makes up for it. 3 touchdowns to me counterbalances 2 turnovers. So I'll take that. But the main thing is they got the ball into his hands, whether it be in the pass game, whether it be in the run game, a couple of times the quarterback. So I think it just worked out well to have the ball in his hands.
Defensively, Scott, the Saints hold Cleveland to 14 points. 2 missed field goals. Again, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm glad that it's happening in our favor. What did you see from the defense in terms of their ability to keep the Browns out of the end zone?
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Time and time again, you'll look at total yards and you'll look at those numbers. Jameis throwing for almost 400 yards. People will say, defensively, you didn't play well enough. But to your point, it all comes down to points. Are you giving up points or are you not giving up points? And the Saints defense today, for as gaudy as some of those pass numbers were and total yard numbers, they did a good job in situational football and keeping the Browns out of the end zone, because with all those yards, it should equate to 28, 35 points. But they rose up and they made the situational plays when they needed to.
This is the second win now for interim head coach Darren Rizzi. Usually you get that bump of energy in that first game. They got the win there. How did you see them execute here in the second game?
Well, I mean, they still have the energy. You want to see better execution defensively. As Scott said, though, the main thing is what's happening on the scoreboard. That's the only thing that matters on defense. You want to see a little bit cleaner execution, but offensively, there was pretty good balance. I mean, you had 200-plus yards passing, 200-plus rushing, so you get the balance that you want right there, and you scored 35 points. Look, everything, I don't want to say everything was perfect, but you had enough offensively, enough balance really to keep Cleveland off balance defensively, and then you get the touchdowns, and that's the main thing. Score the touchdowns, and that's what they did.
Yeah, 21 points in the fourth quarter for the Saints. Scott, what changed in that quarter that allowed them to open things up a little bit more?
I think what you've seen the past 2 weeks is a team that has really embraced this finish strong mentality, because the fourth quarter rolls around. When you're running the football like that and controlling the line of scrimmage, those type of teams finish games. And so I think today especially, you saw it a little bit last week, but today more so. The ground and pound, the Taysom Hill, just wearing these guys down. And when the fourth quarter rolled around, they were able to finish them off and finish strong.
We were expecting a little different story from Jameis Winston, and he didn't throw any interceptions. He was very good with taking care of the ball. It definitely threw for a lot of yards, but we were able to contain the Browns and get the W here today. JD, we're going to let you head out to the locker room. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Scott, now it's just you, one of your former teammates here, honored at the halftime again. Another Super Bowl member in Jarryd getting inducted into the Ring of Honor. Such a huge accomplishment for him, but very deserving. You were a part of that moment. Why is Evans the right guy to be hanging up here in the Superdome forever?
I tell you what, there aren't many guys in the Ring of Honor for the New Orleans Saints, and it is a tough place to get into. You're going to see obviously Drew Brees, all these other guys are going to be in there. I think Jonathan Vilma someday, but Jarryd Evans, I mean, he was one of those guys from the day he stepped foot on Airline Drive. He was a Pro Bowl caliber player, and it is so rare to find a guy. He's now helping coach with the Saints, and giving back to these guys now. But as a player, he was so dominant. And I know a lot of times when you watch offensive linemen, you don't really notice them unless they're giving up a sack. But every play, this guy dominated people in the run game, the pass game. He was truly one of the best offensive linemen, offensive guards to play the position, and he'll be in Canton someday as well.
Yeah, he anchored that line for Drew Brees, and tons of success over that stretch for the Saints. As an offensive line coach, we got to give him credit, because Trevor Penning has been playing some of his best ball. I mean, he has been playing his best ball since joining the Saints. What have you seen about his progression from the start of the season to now?
Yeah, I mean, when we were out there in California in August in training camp, a lot of people wanted to point to Trevor, like, is he going to be a starter? Are they going to have to move him to guard? And there was a lot of concern about Trevor, but to Trevor's credit, every single week he's continued to get better. He knows what his deficiencies are, but he knows what his strengths are. And I think, to your point with Jarryd Evans and the coaches, they know what his strengths and weaknesses are, and they put him in position to succeed. He is a tough, physical run blocker. He's been doing a really good job in the passing game, and I think he fits into this Coach Kubiak scheme really well.
That Coach Kubiak scheme was all over the place in the first half of play. I mean, tons of people up there, they were saying Kubiak's in his bag, which, yes, is a saying that's popular these days. He was doing a bit of everything, from Taysom catching the ball to throwing the ball to running the ball, and Alvin Kamara was getting used, Juwan Johnson. There were 7 different receivers that got into action. How versatile did you see the offense today?
It felt like it did the first few weeks of the season. And obviously, I already talked about the running game. When the running game is going the way it is, it opens so many plays in the playbook. The play action, the drop back, everything opens up when you're really able to run the ball. But Taysom, I think they said he's the first player since 1950 to run, throw, and catch all 3 consecutive plays. He's just a special player, and you can't find enough ways to get number 7 the football. His physicality in running the football, I truly believe the way the Saints were able to finish this game was a testament to the way number 7 wore them down throughout.
It's interesting, too, because Taysom did have an interception. He threw a deep ball into, triple coverage, and then he did fumble at the 5-yard line as the Saints were about to score. Those 2 turnovers didn't become detriments to the Saints today, but the Saints coaching staff and the players around him continued to trust Taysom to make more plays that were more impactful, I guess, as the game went on.
Well, absolutely. He's a game changer, and those are very rare plays where he fumbles. I do love to see him throw the football. Obviously, he doesn't want to throw an interception, but I think it keeps defenses off balance. So let him keep throwing the football when he comes in the Taysom package. But he's just a special player. I've talked about it time and time again, how defensive coordinators, just all of us, you can see them sweating when he runs out on the field. Is he a tight end? Is he a running back? It is hard to call defenses when you don't know where he's going to line up until after he's out there. So he's one of the best football players ever to play the game. I never thought I'd see the day where an NFL football player would come in as a special teams player, and now he plays everything. He's just a weapon every single week.
And it's different for Taysom because he started his football career as a quarterback. He's not one of these gadget players that you use in a wildcat position and have him throw here and there. No, that was his true original position, so he is very good at doing just that. And of course, his body type and his ability to run downhill makes him a huge threat to take those direct snaps, which were a couple of his touchdowns today.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you can put him back there in the shotgun and he can run it, especially short yardage. Everybody loves seeing number 7 run on the field when it's short yardage. He gives you the option in 4th and short, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, because he can run the ball, because he can throw the ball. But he was a very impactful player today. Even the turnovers he had didn't impact this team, because you have to give credit to the rest of the team. The special teams the past 2 weeks, offense has really come alive, and it really hasn't mattered that the defense has been giving up a lot of yards because they've been keeping the team out of the end zone.
It was funny because before we came on, you said you can't look at the stats anymore. Yeah. Because you lose a turnover battle, and the opposing team throws for over 400 yards, and you still win handily, 35-14.
Yeah, rarely, and I remember this stat because it's burned in my head from Sean Payton. Every week we talked about turnover takeaway ratio. In the NFL, if you are just +1 in the turnover takeaway ratio, you're going to win 80% of the games. If you're -2, like this team was today, the Saints were -2. Turned the ball over twice, didn't get any takeaways. You're supposed to lose like 90% of the time in the NFL. So it just shows you just how well this team played in other areas today. I don't think it can be said enough. The special teams, the punt return, the field goal kickers are missing kicks. Maybe Coach Rizzi has some special teams voodoo since he's been the coach, because it's amazing.
Right, he took over as interim head coach. Players like Younghoe Koo, who never misses a field goal, missed 3, and then they come in and miss 2 here today. It's kind of funny, and it's fun to think that maybe it was Darren Rizzi that just has put like a voodoo hex on this.
It's like the special teams gods are shining down on the Saints right now for having an interim head coach who was a special teams coach. Obviously, John Harbaugh was a special teams coach with the Ravens, and I think he's doing a tremendous job. Outside of finding a laugh in that there's voodoo with the special teams, he's brought so much energy.
Yeah.
And you can just feel it, and the guys are playing with that type of energy, and it's a swagger. It really is. It's you walk out on the field, and you feel like this team's going to have to play perfect to beat us because we're not losing today, and that's the way they've been playing.
Jameis Winston threw for an 89-yard touchdown, and then he comes back out of half, and they have another 30-yard touchdown to tie the game at 14. They go for a 2-point conversion there for the 14-14 tie. In the third quarter, and the Saints did not back down. They stayed together. They fought till the end. You mentioned the word finish. It's been a popular one. What does that say about the buy-in this team has right now?
It absolutely. It tells you they're bought in. There's no doubt about it. And a lot of teams at 2-7 would be saying, you know what, we got a built-in excuse. We lost our head coach. We have an interim head coach. It's going to be hard to win the division. We're probably not going to make the playoffs. So as a player, you can make all these built-in excuses. This team, to their credit, they have phenomenal men in the locker room, men of high character. And I think you heard when DA was released, a lot of them took ownership in it. Tyron took ownership in it. Cam, all these guys said we should have played better. And crazy things have happened in the NFL. You lost 7 in a row. Why can't you win 7 in a row? I mean, things can happen if you just put your head down and take it 1 week at a time. This team has taken the last 2 weeks 1 week at a time, and they're 2-0 in the last 2 weeks.
2-0. And the defensive line, 3 sacks again today. 3 sacks last week against the Falcons. They seem like they've turned over a new leaf. Brian Young now leading the line there. And we're seeing it from various players. Brian Brzee finally getting back in the sack column. He had 4 for quite a while, and then he gets at his 5th and half. So he's at 5.5 now, which is a career high for him. And Brzee had been quiet for the middle part of the season. Yeah,
Brian has been quiet. Today was probably one of his better games of the year. Just getting those sacks almost comes in bunches, just like getting takeaways. It almost like you can't get one forever, and then all of a sudden you get 2, 3, or 4. And it seemed like Brian had that type of game today. Carl's been playing better the last 2 weeks. Cam Jordan's been playing as much as he's been playing all year the last 2 weeks. I love the rotation right now. It's not just 4 guys playing the majority of snaps. It's a really good rotation and keeping guys fresh, and I think that's what's showing up in the pass rush game.
All right, let's send it into the locker room and hear from interim head coach Darren Rizzi.
We've done very well. Coming in today, we were 1-3 in one-score games. We've had some leads that we've given up, and so really, when and even last week at times, offensively we weren't great. But I thought one of the best things we did today, all 3 phases, hung in there, finished the game, fourth quarter. We talked about 3 things this week. Just keeping the focus on the preparation. We talked about winning the line of scrimmage, and we talked about finish. And those are the themes as a team this week. And I thought we did all 3 of those things. And so I thought that was a check mark for all 3 things. It started to get, when they tied the game, the momentum started to swing a little bit again, much like last week. And I thought, what a great job by us, by the team, all 3 phases in the fourth quarter. We had big plays from every phase. And so I just thought that was an outstanding job. Again, the crowd was awesome. To hear the momentum there, we needed them a little bit at the end. We got loud. All of a sudden, they're in a 2-minute drive. That was great. Kudos to Taysom for responding. And, no surprise, that's Taysom, but great response from him. I know he was pissed off at halftime because we had a couple of turnovers, the interception and the fumble. But he might be the poster child for the resiliency. Look at him come back, bounce back, make some huge plays. We decided to go for it there on 4th and short. He has a touchdown run. Then we're in a 4-minute drill, and he busts out another long one. So I'm certainly happy as heck that we have that guy on our team. You look at the offensive line. We rushed for 200+ yards. Our plan was to kind of neutralize Myles Garrett for the game, and I thought we did some of that. So, but again, a big punt return, just plays by everybody. And so, again, just super proud. As I just said to the team, there's a process every week on how to win the game, and I thought we did a great job there. There was a couple times where we had some self-inflicted wounds for sure, with the explosive plays for them and the turnovers for us, but kudos to that whole locker room for being able to overcome that. So.
Was there some sort of an intentional plan? You looked at a lot of different things that said we should be doing this, we should be doing it. Was there any sort of intentional Taysom Hill should be more involved in the offense, or this
yes.
in particular?
Yeah, I think when you look at least for the time I've been here for most of the time Taysom's been, and listen, when he touches the ball, and he's on the field, it affects the game tremendously, and he doesn't even sometimes have to get the ball. Him being on the field and him, kind of like I thought Clint did a phenomenal job in the way we used them today. He ran it, he threw it, he caught it. And so when you're defending that and you're not sure where he's going to line up and all that, it neutralizes the defense a little bit. You maybe get some more, vanilla looks than if he's not on the field. And so, I think he had 8 catches and 7 carries and 2 pass attempts, and Red Grange. So, it's good for him and good for us and good for Clint and good for the offensive staff. But no doubt, you want to get the balls to your playmakers and certainly we don't want to be one-dimensional. Alvin's done such a great job the entire season, to keep teams off balance, and it's not all one guy is a big deal.
You guys had something that came up with, like in your assessment conversations, or like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we looked at some other games this year when Taysom was active, and it wasn't just me. I think they collectively felt like, we got to get this guy the ball more and get him more involved.
Is that was this maybe what y'all kind of envisioned going into the season? His role could look like in Clint's offense, and maybe just like injuries took the toll?
I think that's a fair statement, because you look at the first couple of games, he was very, very involved. He obviously then was dealing with an injury, coming back off of that, and I think he's gotten a little bit more and more involved every week. But if you look at our wins so far this season, I'm going to tell you that Taysom's numbers are pretty good, and so that's been a theme around here for a long time. And like I said, and Alvin's been kind of carrying the load there, and just again, Alvin had some really tough, really good yards today, and then be able to keep them off the defenses off balance with those two guys is a big thing.
Darren, you're kidding about Red Grange, but I mean, can you put into perspective just how rare it is for a player to do what he's been doing in his career?
Yeah, I mean, listen, 30-something years of coaching, and it's hard to compare him to somebody that I've coached or coached against or watched. Listen, the guy had a 42-yard kickoff return. He threw 2 passes today, and one of them he wants to have back. He had 10 targets, and he's got 7 rushes, and he's got a 4th down run for a touchdown. It's like, what can't this guy do? He's our personal protector on our punt team, and so there's just so many jobs, and he's so valuable. So it's hard to, I say Red Grange because I don't even know who else to say, because I mean, can you guys think of anybody? I can't. And so, like I said, I'm glad he's on our team. Chuck Bigneri. I mean, who? The guys in the locker room don't even know that. They don't know who Red Grange is either, though. So.
But what do you? I mean, also, isn't it, in your experience, for a 34-year-old, uncommon to be breaking kick returns and runs 75-yarders and stuff like that?
Yeah, he's kind of an ageless guy. I mean, he keeps himself in phenomenal physical shape. The way he takes care of his body, what he puts in his body, all those things, how he prepares himself off the field in the off season, all those things. So I mean, he certainly doesn't look 34. He looked more like a 24-year-old today. That's for sure. And like I said, I'm glad. Now we got to be smart with the usage and play counts and all that stuff. And we can't just sweep it under the rug, his age. But man, I think the reason he has success is because of what he does for the whole calendar year. His preparation, his nutrition, all those things. And so the off-the-field stuff is really impressive with him.
Obviously, there's like the earned confidence you guys have in them, but to stick with them and keep riding after the turnovers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. Man, at halftime I said to him, you're going to continue to get the ball, so we got to get over it. Let's move on. And listen, any good player get that many touches, you're going to have some negative plays. But he was taking it personal, and I just told him on the way out at halftime, like, you're going to keep getting the ball, so we're going to need you here. And fortunately for us, he made some big ones.
You talked about earlier. Did you feel like Clint was in a rhythm as a play caller today, especially early on?
Yeah, I thought it's the second week in a row. I thought we had a really good start. And that's been a theme in the games that we've played well in, is kind of getting that ball rolling early on. We got a little stagnant there again in maybe the third quarter, but then we're a really good finish. That was the difference between this week and last week. I thought the offense finished. I thought we had a really good start, maybe a little stale in the middle, but I thought Clint called a great game. And you look at the numbers, Derek's 21 of 27, again, very efficient, made some good decisions, spread the ball around. And for the second week in a row, his QB rating, his QBR is super high, and just played a really efficient game. But that goes back to the play calling. So I thought Clint did a phenomenal job of spreading the ball around. Foster, a couple huge catches. Jawan, a couple huge catches. And so obviously Scanling, another big play. And so that's just a great job of understanding the weapons we have, distributing the ball. So great job by Clint.
How would you describe what sort of the overall mood of this locker room is, right? I mean, it was pretty down 2 weeks ago. How would you describe where you guys are right now?
I think that we're starting to get some confidence back. You know what I mean? I thought we had a lot of confidence in the beginning of the year. We obviously hit a little bit of a lull, team-wise, and I think there's some, you got a little swag back, if you will. And so, that makes me so happy just seeing our guys celebrate and the culmination of the work week. And now I think that, we talked about that formula for winning. And so I think that, and I talked about the buy-in, and it's a credit to everybody in the locker room. Those guys, that's what they've done. And so, listen, I love to see the excitement. We're going to have a little downtime now. The guys need it. We went, 11 in a row here is not easy. So, these late bye weeks. So kind of get to press the reset button again and kind of see if we can, make a push here at the end, one game at a time.
I'm sorry, how gratifying has this been for you? I mean, and you do get a chance to
Yeah.
reset right now, but this whirlwind beginning
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, it's got to
Yeah,
be pretty good, right?
yeah. It's been a crazy 2 weeks. Sit here. I'd lie to you if I was saying I've had to sit down and really think about the whole thing. Maybe I'll do that this week, but we still have a lot of things we got to get done in the office and whatnot. So, but yeah, listen, it's gratifying to me to win. So, at the end of the day, to watch these guys prepare these last 2 weeks and go out there, that's the gratifying part for sure. Just the smiles on the faces in the locker room, that's the gratifying part.
Darren, did Eric aggravate
Yeah, we're just talking about down in the way, and I need to get the exact information on that. I'm not 100% sure what that is, so I got to figure that out.
It looked like he tried to go back and maybe he wasn't able.
Yeah, he was dealing with something, and I think he tried to gut through. Could he have maybe gone back in? Probably, but I think we tried to make the smart decision with him there.
Is it the same?
I really don't know. I'm not 100% sure if it's the exact same thing. I don't know.
And then Pete Warner, your decision to have him up today,
Yeah.
despite the kind of cast on the same.
Yeah, so I told you guys all week. Pete, every day there was a little bit more confidence that he could do it. It was really up till like last night where it's like, hey, we're going to pull the trigger here. He had some casting options. Weren't 100% sure if he was going to be able to do it, but he prepared all week. He didn't get a ton of reps, but he prepared all week. Pete's a very, very intelligent guy, and so that I wasn't worried about the mental. I was more worried about can he finish, be effective, and so what a credit to him. I mean, he's out there with that club and still flying around making plays. So.
Coach, what about the defense
Yeah.
and taking away their running game? How they can.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, it was 64 yards rushing, and we made an emphasis all week about the line of scrimmage, but more importantly, our tackling. Our tackling on the year is something that's been really, really, inconsistent. And so I saw today, some really good examples of tackling in the run game. They ripped off a couple runs here or there, but I thought we really did a great job controlling the line. But more importantly, when the back gets to the second level, linebackers, DBs, we did a much better job today in tackling. So again, that was an emphasis. They've done a good job. Their offensive line, tight ends, running backs have been good for them, and we tried to make it turn into a passing game, which we did in the second half, and that was certainly effective. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, he got dinged up early too, and credit to him, he came back in the game, but he made some huge catches, and the one got taken away from him, for the holding call, which was a really great passing catch. But no, some huge plays. The one he's falling down, I remember saying in the headset to the coaches, that's an unbelievable catch. He's kind of off balance, kind of sees the ball late, but he made some critical catches. But that whole tight end room really stepped up.
Can you go into just kind of a two-part here, the return game on y'all's side with
Yeah.
Guys filling in that haven't really been in those roles yet this year, and then on the opposite side, like the field position, you guys kind of
Yeah,
done that.
sure. Well, first of all, Dante Pettis, great job by him. I think in 11 games we've had 4 or 5 different guys back there catching punts, and I think like 7 or 8 different guys doing kick returns. And so we made a decision late in the week to go with Dante because we needed a roster spot. I thought Jermaine did a very admirable job when he's been in there, give or take. But Dante's a guy that really was a really good returner in college. And we knew if we can get him out, into space, we can make something happen. It's a shame. I saw right in front of me, stepped out by about an inch, it looked like, and thought it might come back. So I wasn't really celebrating too much because I knew they were going to see it. But what a great job. Give us great field position, go down, score again. Like I said, all 3 phases, and then the kickoff side of things. I thought Blake had some really good kickoffs. Coverage was outstanding. We made them field that one-line drive ball that kind of bounced around. I think they started on the 15. Coverage is really good. So we want to continue to take advantage of that. So to have a 42-yard kick return, and I don't even know how many yards the punt return was, the long punt return, but to have those are huge plays in the game. Momentum swings, and so that was really, really good.
How was it seeing Jameis again, and did you present any of the challenges that you expected?
Jameis?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I didn't really get a chance to talk to him until after the game, but it's always great to see James. Puts a smile on my face, puts a smile on everybody's face. So from a personal level, great to see him. Listen, right away, would they have an 89-yard touchdown there in the beginning? And so, that was the concern coming in, is Jameis is going to and then all of a sudden he's going to take those shots down the field. I thought we did a really good job of defending a couple of those in the second half. And so, so you're always worried, even when we went up 14, it's kind of like we just can't have an explosive here, no big ones, and all of a sudden they're back in the game. And I thought we did a good job of taking those second half ones away. Pardon me, my nose decided to run on me here.
Marquez had another one of those big touchdowns
Yeah.
that he had last year, but maybe something that won't get talked about as much as Juwan Johnson blocking downfield and that. Can you tell us a little bit from your perspective, like what a moment like that
Yeah.
means and the kind of the ripple effects that?
Well, it's another bounce back moment. We talked about Taysom, but Juwan had the holding penalty on the long, throw to Foster. And here again, not a guy, he didn't sulk. He just got back and came back and made a huge play. As that play's going on, I'm not even watching, Scantling run with the ball. I'm watching everybody else, and I'm looking at Juwan back there just, out in front, working his ass off to get us into the end zone. That's what the finish part is all about. So when you see examples like that, I think it's awesome. Those are the selfless acts that maybe not everybody understands or sees. But that's just phenomenal. It's just team football. It's a selfless, it's a 111 thing that we always talk about. So awesome, really cool.
You figured out some secrets of making opposing kickers miss.
No, but that's again, those are big plays. I think that our rush team has done a phenomenal job. And, kudos to Phil Galliano and Moof, Marwan for plan. They kind of put that plan together every week and present it. Great job by those guys. We're giving phenomenal effort on that. And that shows on film, and that's in the kicker's mind. And so, the rushes from last week, we blocked one. We should have maybe blocked another. It whizzed by Ridgway's hand. And so that's on film. And so kickers, all of a sudden, the operation, they try to speed up a little bit, get the ball out a little quicker. It's kind of it's a big deal. And so, when you put that effort on film and you put that thought into the opponent's mind, so great job by everybody in that unit and the coaching part of it, great job.
Did your day start better today?
Well, I'm a routine guy, so I'll leave it at that. And I'm not, Doug's going to get nervous now, so.
May I ask that before you look, we haven't even asked about Derek yet. So
Yeah.
Just like how important has he been kind of stabilizing this for you and kind of getting this team back on track here?
I think the fact that you haven't asked about Derek yet is really all you need to say. He played a phenomenal game across the board, extremely efficient, like I mentioned before. That's 2 weeks in a row where his efficiency, at that position that we all know, the turnovers are a big deal. I know he didn't throw the one interception today. I think he was 21 and 27. I think, like I said, the second week in a row, his QBR is way, way high. I think we had one sack today, so 2 weeks, 1 sack. Just again spreading the ball out. And listen, there's a bunch of guys playing out there that haven't really been playing with him the entire year. Scantling, Kevin Austin, Dante Pettis. I mean, here's guys out there. So the timing and the rhythm, and Derek does a great job in practice every week of when the defense is up and they're doing their stuff. He's got these receivers off on the side. He's not just sitting around and he's making sure the timing and all that is on point. So just another really, really great job by him. I was really, really pleased with him 2 weeks in a row. All right, guys, appreciate it. Thanks.
Why did you block me kicks today?
I don't know. They did a good job. Didn't have.
Who Red Grange is?
Do I know who Red Grange is? I don't.
Just compared, your coach compared to Red Grange.
Riz did. Was that a compliment? I'm just playing.
You do have those stats all the time, though, and actually, Captain just tweeted one from ESPN stats today that was like the first since Ed Podolak in 1971. What is the kind of the wildest name you've ever seen on one of those stats that you're the first since?
I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things. To be honest, I don't really pay a ton of attention to those things. But listen, I know that the guys that played this game before us did a lot for us that are now playing this. So to be talked about with those guys, is means a lot to me. And I love this game, but the reality is the guys that came before us, laid a foundation for us to be playing in stadiums like this on national television and stuff. So I don't want that to come across the wrong way, but because it does mean a lot to me.
And did you think it was possible that you could set career highs in rushing yards and receptions still?
Look, I've always believed in myself, and it was one of those games where, Clint and the way the coverage was working out, just created opportunities for me. And, I know Riz talked about it, but I thought Jarryd played a really efficient game, and the ball was going where it needed to go, and it was coming out on time. And we're really hard to defend when we're doing that. And, man, he made a lot of really pivotal plays, third down, third and long, and he's making plays to move the chains, and, that's a big deal.
Derek was joking during the week that he bet you a dinner about the opening touchdown in the last game. So are you gonna? Did you win the bet this week?
No, I didn't win a bet. He kind of always has a standing thing, like if you take a screen for a touchdown or something, he'll give you something, give you dinner, whatever. But mine got called back, so I couldn't accept it. So. Yeah. That's usually what he does. It's usually what he does. But I haven't been able to collect on one of those yet. Maybe in a couple weeks.
How frustrated were you after the fumble?
Yeah, look, I'm disappointed, and I was really disappointed at halftime. And no one is going to be harder about all these things than I am. I certainly expect more of myself in those situations, but. Look, they made a couple good plays, and so got a lot of great teammates, a lot of great friends in there that I had conversations with, and look, I played this game long enough. I know that those guys on the other side get paid too, and look, it was one of those things where I had to take a step back and say there's nothing that I can do about it now, right? So let's go do what I can to help us win this game, and fortunately, I continue to get some opportunities.
Jarryd said at halftime that he told you he was gonna keep feeding you the ball. I'm guessing that kind of meant something to you when you weren't feeling great, right?
Yeah. Look, I had a number of conversations. Look, I think you play in this league long enough, you're gonna have moments like that. So certainly, I've had plays that didn't go my way prior to this game too. But look, I had conversations with Clint, Riz, everyone, and it's always the same message. And look, it's the same message that I echo to teammates too when something doesn't go our way. So look, I'm aware of all that and grateful that they obviously continue to give me opportunities.
They obviously did a number of creative things with you, but they also had the 4th and 1, and then that last drive toward the end where it looked like you were just going to play quarterback for all 4 plays. If needed, it only ended up being 2. But how much do you like that? I mean, we're not hiding what we're doing, And
yeah.
It's power versus power, I guess, and that's a specialty of yours.
Yeah, look, I think we gained some numbers that way, and that's obviously never been a secret, and we've done these things in the past, and it's been successful. So certainly in a 4-minute situation, it's one of those things that's been advantageous for us. And Clint called a great game, and he created a lot of unique opportunities for me to make plays. And I think as you start to look at what we're doing offensively, the more things we do that way, the harder it is for us to be defended. And so I think when you're running the ball well and your head, creates more opportunities that way. But hopefully something that we can continue to build on.
Can you take us just the second touchdown, 4th down? Can you take us to that play?
Let's see. Yeah. Look, it was one of those. Obviously, it was 4th and short. Was it 4th and short, or was it 3rd down? Was it 4th and short? Wow. They came out of center field. I knew it was an aggressive run, stop, look, and I've seen this before, right? But when they sell it to stop the run, there's no one back there. So if you get past that first level of defense, you're kind of home free. So, man, they did a great job. It was one of these plays where we had a number of double teams up front, and those guys created a big hole, big lane for me, and got me out in space, and the rest is what it was.
You've known Rizzy a long time.
Yeah.
What is it about him that players seem to respond to so well?
I think Riz has done a really nice job of, communicating with a lot of guys in the locker room. So we've had a lot of meetings with him. We've had private meetings, whatever, and I think he has a really good pulse on what we need collectively as a team, to get ready for a football game, and I think guys have responded to that and really respected and his ability to come in and have conversation, but then take feedback and make some changes. And as I mentioned, guys have responded really positively.
Jason, just in terms of usage, the amount of time touching the ball on the field, is this kind of what you were anticipating coming into the season, type of game? Not the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what I'd hoped for, and so as you look at training camp, the first half of the season was I was really disappointed the way it went just because of my injuries, and so I think it's trying to find this balance of, what is that going to look like now, and are you being exposed too much to injury and stuff, and we all know this too, right? It's every game's a little bit different, so I felt like there were opportunities to continue to do things like this. Someone showed me some stat sheets. It's kind of one of those things that you don't expect to have a career high on a number of things in one game. But I certainly felt like there was opportunities to have touches like this.
How frustrating was that, if that was the expectation going into the year, just knowing that you have to find this balance with the injuries?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing when you want to be out there with your team, and you go through OTAs, you go through training camp, and man, we had a tough training camp, and you're out there grinding with all your buddies, and then you get to the season, and we're all excited, and you have to stay on the sideline. That's a hard thing to balance, mentally, emotionally, and so forth. So I understand trying to find a balance of making sure that you're available and all of that, but we also need to make sure we're doing everything we can to win football games. And so I don't know what that's going to continue to look like, but I'm certainly enjoying the more opportunities I get.
What did you think of Jarryd's scoring on his jet motion?
Yeah, it was great. I mentioned that. Look, that was one of the things I talked about to the team. When you start to when you rush the ball for as many yards as we did, these things are just a collective effort, right? You can't do this by yourself. And, Derek is one of those guys that has always been incredibly supportive, and the dude just wants to win, so whatever it takes. And, we've had some giggles about some of his jet sweep motions, and hey, I'm always available, and stuff like that. So he's been great.
Coach Rizzi said it feels like the team's getting its swag back. I mean, can you feel that?
For sure.
Where's the team at right now?
Yeah. Look, I think it's like as you watched that game, I think you saw a team that just continued to get more and more confident, and that was something, it's no secret. We've struggled finishing games, and I felt as I think back, throughout the course of that game, we just start playing with more and more confidence, and the expectations, we continue to build on that.
Jason, I don't want to do message or whatever, but heard it the last couple of weeks, the importance placed on finishing.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks in a row, you guys found a way to finish and close out games. Is there anything to the message in that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I certainly don't think anything's going to change if you don't talk about it, and that's something that we've struggled with this year. So at some point you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, we need to be better, and what do we need to be better at, because at the end of the day, yeah, it matters what you do in the first half, but we've been around this league long enough that knows that these games are won and lost in the second half, third and fourth quarter, and we need to do a better job. And I felt like we got into that game, we just knew that, man, we were going to do what was necessary to win that one.
Hey, Taysom, you talked about the previous players in time sort of paving the way for what you guys are doing now. How important is it, or how does it feel knowing that now, at this moment, you're doing that for future players?
Yeah, I think that's important. I'm a father of 2 little boys, and I look at what's the growth of our league through my last 8 years here, and that means a lot to me as well, to be able to continue to add to something that, certainly a lot bigger than myself, and football has been my life, as I look back to my time in, Little League and now college, and, now I get to play football and take care of my family while I do this, so this stuff, it's been my life. And so to be able to add to that means a lot to me.
How much longer do you think you can keep doing this?
I don't know. One game at a time, we'll see. All good? Thanks, guys.
Great job, bro. Have you ever had an opportunity to try to tackle him at full speed, or you guys have never gone against each other like that?
Taysom? We've had some live drills. I don't know if we've ever had to go head on in the hole or nothing like that. I think maybe in those live drills he might have been at quarterback or something. So glad he's on my team.
Speaking of a hole open, wide open, were you able to tell who created that opening for you on fourth down play? I don't think you got through that.
I believe that it was firstly on 4th and 1 and goal line plays. It always begins with knockback, and so I think our defensive line took away the interior run by the way that they got off the ball with low pad level. I believe it was Will Harris. He was man-to-man on the tight end, and when the tight end blocked, he got the trigger, and that took the fullback or the guard off of me, which opened up a path where all I had to do was make the tackle. Still making a tough tackle on a really good running back, and so to be able to make that play, I think, set the tone in the game. So that was great.
Did you almost have a pick on that one in the
Oh, my gosh. First of all, I almost had 2 picks. Almost is the key word. Following last week, almost had a pick. So Amazon, I'm going to be looking tonight, or have my wife look tonight on Amazon, Prime Delivery. I got to get some hands. At this point, we shop so much on Amazon, so we might have some day delivery that we can get for free. But anywhere online, I know Amazon is going to have them. I need the best hands I can find. At this point, I am shopping for some hands. So Amazon, just know we'll be looking tonight. Amazon delivery in the box. Don't care how they come. If they gift wrapped or not, box them up nice for me. Just a pair of hands so I can have them for after the bye week.
They've been really clear about how the defensive scheme hasn't changed, like in terms of an overhaul, but that Joe Woods has kind of put his stamp on some things and made some changes.
Yeah.
How have you seen those changes reflected?
Joe Woods is an unbelievable defensive coordinator. Man, he does really good calling the plays, and I think keeping the quarterback in a scramble, and the offensive coordinator in a scramble. And he does a good job of putting the game in his players' hands, and we're able to play free. He comes in with the game plan. He makes sure we feel good about it, and we're able to come into the game with a lot of confidence. And when he's over there calling the plays, we just trust him, and we go out and execute. And it allows us to play with our hair on fire. Guys have really been playing good football the past couple of weeks, so it's good. And down the stretch, we got to do that.
And Marvin, you're friends with Derek. He's sitting as a I love his head on that, but what can you say about his how he can play?
Oh man, my boy had a field day out there today. He's a true point guard. If you really watch him, he get his Rajon Rondo on quite a bit. Finding players, and I was telling him in the locker room, some of my favorite plays is to watch him when he rolls out the pocket. He got about 8-yard run today. That was special. He bowled up in the room, so I'm gonna give him some extra love. But I think the poise that he plays with when he rolls out of the pocket, when he's on, he's one of the best doing it. He dropped a couple dimes that were down the field. That 4th and 1 was special, and got called back. But I think that's my favorite plays is when he rolls out of the pocket and to see how he can wheel and deal on the fly. I usually have guys at 3 levels, and I feel like he manipulates the defense in his favor. He did the same thing on kind of a little screen I was telling him about. It wasn't a major play, but it was pretty cool because he found a way to find a crease between 2 linemen. I mean, you got to think quarterbacks, they really have to have some I'm not have the word to say of steel because you got Myles Garrett running at you full speed, and you have to be able to find a guy, keep your eyes down the field with somebody who has plenty of highlights in the league of tearing people's heads off, and he's running at you full speed, and to be able to keep your eyes downfield and keep your poise, I just think like, man, you got to give a lot of respect to those guys, and I like to see him when he is in mode like that. So glad he's on our side.
Damari, how would you describe the sort of overall mood or the vibe of this locker room? I know it got low, obviously, a couple of weeks ago. How would you describe where you guys are right now?
We're winning. Winning feels good. So we want to keep that feeling going. Winning changes everything, and that's what this game is about.
Can you just talk about Pete, obviously, dealing with the hand injury?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Club on it. What is that? Is that motivating for everyone else to watch him, play through that?
That's some Walker, Texas Ranger toughness right there. Man, he broke his hand last game, had a major surgery. I think he has a steel plate in his hand, and he wraps it up with a club and he tests it out in practice, and he's like, man, when I hit somebody, it still feels like I'm punching a brick wall. He's like, but I'm gonna tough it out. And he got my respect. He already had my respect, I already knew he was a tough player, but man, like your hands and feet, those are some very sensitive areas. I know people look at football and be like, man, those are tough guys. But man, if you step on your toe or you stub your toe, it still hurt. If you break a finger or something, it hurts. And for him to be out there toughing it out like that for the team and made some really big plays, it just speaks of his toughness and his commitment to the game.
Mario, a few weeks ago, I don't know when it was exactly, but the Tyrant said he felt like maybe the team lacked confidence in adverse situations. In these last 2 weeks, it looks like you guys are kind of handling that in the flow. Do you feel like there's a change in the response maybe when things go wrong, like just maybe like the belief in how to overcome it?
I think it was just emphasis on finish. It started with Coach Rizzi. He just talked about like that we weren't finishing well, and that was something that we had to change. And then Joe Woods came in and emphasized it, and he talked about, I think, like 8 or 9 of our losses. We either were tied or had to lead in the fourth quarter. And he really challenged us on defense that we had to finish better. And I think that's what we've been putting on display the past couple weeks. It was an interesting stat that it was 21-0 in the fourth quarter today. That's the type of football that we have to play, and I think it makes the difference.
Did you specifically talk to the defense before? I think it was before last week's game. Tell them like we're winning, going into the fourth. It's our game.
What about it?
Have you seen the team respond since then?
Man, I just think our guys are responding to the challenge. Coaches have emphasized some specific challenges for us the past couple of weeks, and the guys have been responding. And we've always known that we had the guys in the locker room, and for whatever reason, they're putting the goals before us, and we're completing all of them. So I think the emphasis is in the right spot, and we're having success. Success breeds confidence. Confidence breeds success.
What was it playing against seeing Jameis again and playing against him in a game where he looked pretty invigorated about the opportunity?
That's my brother, man. I love him. I love that man to death. He is a very unique guy, and he's a memorable teammate. He gives everything that he has, and he has a spirit about him that's contagious. And I think watching him grow, specifically in his relationship with the Lord, his relationship with his family, and just being a leader all around, seeing him use his platform properly, I think has been amazing to see. In this game, you're going to have highs and lows, but it's all about how you choose to show up every day. And I think he is one guy that if you want to talk about how you show up every single day, he is as great as they come in that regard. The things that he's had to endure, the waves and the high highs that he's had and the low lows that he's had, but he continues to show up with that spirit. I think that's an example to the world. If I could show up with his spirit every day, I'd be a better human being. And I'm proud to call him my brother. I would praise and honor him on any stage. Hey, thank y'all. God bless.
All right.
The 3rd and 1 keeper, obviously, got to start with that.
Absolutely. I thought after that run, I was definitely going to beat Taysom in the rushing title again today, and I did not. Obviously, that was my last one. So, yeah, that was. It was actually a play we've had before, but this game had presented good looks, and the coaches, they liked it, and that was going to be our first short yardage call. And I've been trying to tell them, I was like, I don't mind doing it, And so finally they let me do it, and we got a first down, and so that was huge for us for sure.
The decision to cut back into the field.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, they put the over/under at 6 yards, and so I didn't know where I was. I just knew I needed more, and so yeah.
Jarryd, Rizzy mentioned that you guys went into this with a plan for Myles Garrett, and you felt really happy with how that played out.
Yeah.
From your perspective,
I think it went really well. We made sure we had a plan for him because he is one of the most dominant players I've ever played in my 11 years in the NFL. He is insane how good he is. And so some of the plays he can make, the strength with the speed, with the effort. There's a play you watch him against Washington. He runs down a run play like 50, 60 yards down the field, and he's outrunning DBs. He's unbelievable. And so thankfully he didn't decapitate me on the one I was throwing to Foster because he found a way in. But I thought our offensive line did an outstanding job. Tight ends, running backs, whoever, receivers. We had just different kind of looks, different kind of things that you don't always use in every game. But with a guy like that, you have to use. And I put him up there with the guys I've played like Von Miller, Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt. I mean, these guys they're just that dominant, And so. Again, like I always do, I'll stop naming people so someone down the road doesn't get mad. But they just have a way to impact games. I mean, you watch the film and you see him getting chipped, about to get chipped, and he's hitting the chipper, 3 yards in the air. They're both feet are off the ground, and then he's running through the tackle. Like not everybody can do that kind of stuff.
How do you feel about? I mean, Taliesin drawing that matchup a lot as a rookie and everything. How do you feel about his performance?
Yeah, I mean, what a great challenge for him, right? Because we did leave him out there a couple times. You can't always chip and do certain things 100% of the time. There's certain concepts and routes you just live with, and you got to do it. And I thought he did a fantastic job. And what an experience for him to go against one of the more dominant players our league has ever seen. And to just grow in confidence, and continue to get better. And, he'll see things he'd want better or want, all those things. But, for him to, get a taste of, playing against Myles, what that's like, and for him to handle himself really well. The thing I look for is the body language, the eyes, before we go out there in the huddle, on a 3rd down, I'm looking at, and he very confident young man. And so his confidence gives me confidence, because I've been in huddles with guys where they're like, I don't know about this play, and it's not a good feeling as a quarterback. So his confidence is definitely years beyond how old he actually is.
What do you think about the Rondo comparison that Mario used? Where are you right now as far as being like that?
I love Rondo, really love Rondo, but I'm a Laker fan, so that one's tough for me. For me, I think any kind of praise from a player like that is very honoring, and I'm humbled by it because, for him to say that, he doesn't just, say words. You guys know DeMario, what he says is what he means, and so I'm honored that he would compare me to someone like that. But, we talk about all the time. I just, whenever, you're in a certain system and you got players around you, it allows you to manipulate coverages. It allows you to look this way, pump, and then come back because I can get a complete. I got to move this guy one step. There was one today. I knew I was going to throw a certain ball. I got to move that guy one step. And if I don't have time to do that, I just can't play the position how I want to play it. But I'm allowed to do that because of how well our offensive line is playing. How well our guys are on their details about. It's just little things like the landmarks of the routes. Like you have to catch this ball outside the hash right here. You got to be ready right here when I hit this third step. All that stuff matters. And just really impressed by everyone else around me because it gives me such joy every time going out there because I know I can play free. I know that I can just be free to be me, manipulate guys. I know Clint and Janoke won't like it, but sometimes take an extra hitch to move somebody to throw a certain ball and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have time to do those things and guys aren't in the details, it won't matter and it won't work. So I've just been thankful for the guys around me. They're playing so well, and it allows me just to be free. I got to be honest, like the last, I don't know how to say it, like the end of last year and the beginning of this year is absolutely, I feel great. I feel like it's been my best football, that I've played in my career. And so I feel confident in that. I feel confident in who I'm playing with. I feel confident in the building that I'm in, and they continue to just breathe confidence into me, and that goes a long way for players. And so, I feel like in my 11 years, the last, I don't know how many games, but it's been my best.
I know we've talked about Taysom before many times, but how rare is it to do what he did today for a player like that?
It's unbelievable what he does, what we ask him to do. He's fullback, lead blocking on inside zones, ISOs, and then he's playing fullback on a stretch run, then he's playing tight end, then he's at receiver, then he's playing quarterback, then he's throwing a ball 50 yards down the field, then he's running with it, from quarterback. It's like, then I'm turning around and I'm in a no-huddle situation checking plays to hand him the ball at running back. It's like, good luck finding someone that can do all those things, and I knew what kind of weapon he was, when I made a decision to come here, and I was just so excited to play with him, and it makes it even cooler now playing with him, just because he's such a great friend and he's such a great person. So now it's just like, there's nothing wrong with this guy, like this guy is awesome, and so except sometimes I can beat him at golf, so that's one thing, but I can't outdrive him though.
He might be almost underappreciated to some degree. That just the versatility.
I think there's a case to be made for that for sure, because he is dominant in everything that he does, and like it's like a point guard switching off onto a center and he can guard him in the low block. It's like center switching on a point guard and he's not worried about getting hit on a three or getting run by. Like it's really unbelievable the different spots he can go and play at that level, and so absolutely I think he deserves. I think he gets a lot of credit. I think he deserves a lot more for what he's able to do, because what people don't understand is too, mentally, when he's going through a 200 play call sheet, he has to go through that in 3 different positions in his head, really 4, emergency quarterback stuff too. You never know. Like, he has to go through that and know everything, and he never misses an assignment. He's always on top of his stuff, and he plays at a high level. And so the amount of mental task that he has to put into a week based on what people ask him to do, coaches ask him to do, it's ridiculous.
Jarryd, you probably had a chance to double your rushing yards today on the 3rd and long rollout, but kept looking for that MVS pass. What were you looking for on that play? Because obviously you had that yard if you wanted to take it.
Yeah, I took off running, but then I felt, I guess the motion, I have to see the film because I turned my back to it, but I guess the motion must have mixed him up backside, because I went to go run, and then he popped in, and so I just gave it to him. I saw nothing behind him, and I knew he'd probably get more yards than I could.
That wasn't designed to free him necessarily. That's something you saw as the play.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, he's in the read, but it wasn't like for him. You know what I mean? But he ended up showing up. I just went through what I was supposed to go through, and he popped, and so I just gave him the ball, and he did the rest.
What do you make of Juwan down the field on that same play when he's blocking this DB who felt like minutes?
Yep.
Down the field.
Completely selfless. I just, those are my favorite kind of plays, is when you see guys doing that for their brother. And then he gets rewarded at the end of the game and catches a touchdown. I just think that stuff is so cool about the game of football. Whenever you're selfless and you just put others first. And man, yeah, I'm going to run 80 yards down this field and make blocks so you can get in the end zone. The game usually eventually, rewards you. And so to see that for him, I'm glad that happened. But you guys know Juwan, he's completely selfless, loves his teammates, loves this organization. He'll do anything. And so for him to be running down the field like that, I don't think it surprised any of us.
I think at the beginning of your training camp, we were watching Taysom fullback and tight end and running back. We're all kind of anticipating maybe he would be more involved, more opportunities to touch the ball. To see him kind of finally get that after kind of working through the injuries, how fun was it watching him seeing him touch the ball 15 times?
It's been a lot of fun, and like you said, like you guys saw it all, OTAs and camp. Y'all saw like all the different spots we were putting him in and the different things that he was going to be able to do. But then injuries happen. I mean, y'all know the story. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff's happened to our team this year, injury-wise. So, finding the targets. We would like him to have this role, but he needs to have this role. All that kind of stuff. But the way guys are stepping up and playing in their positions, it's allowed his role to just be what we thought it was going to be. And so he's able to do so many things when he's on the field. What personnel do you put out there? Is he playing tight end? Is he playing running back? Am I motion out? Is he quarterback? What is he? Do you want to put faster bodies because he can run routes and beat tight ends and catch the ball? We saw him catch. I threw him 2 balls back to back. On a drive. There's like what do you do with him? And I think for us, the versatility that he brings allows some confusion and some different things based on what personnel do you want to put in there, because we also go 3 tight ends with him in there and run the football, and we can throw it, and it's that just helps us. His ability helps us tremendously as an offense, and I'm sure for Clint to call plays.
If he didn't get a $1,000 paycheck from Derek Carr last week, did he earn one this week?
He did not. He did not. I did not tell him if he had 3 touchdowns. Although I did say if he scored on the first play of the game again, because he had a chance. There was a chance that I would absolutely pay him. But no, thankfully I don't. My wife's happy. I don't have to pay him.
With everything this team has been through and where y'all are now, does this bye week come at a good time? Like, do you want a bye week, or is there
Yes.
a part that you want to keep playing?
Yeah, I think we definitely need a bye week. Absolutely. I know I'm being funny about that, but yeah, I mean, yes, there is something to keep playing. We know we have a lot to keep playing for and to play. And so our focus is not going to change. But going from training camp to how late our bye week is this year, we definitely need one. We were not running on E, but there are some guys that just need to rest. This game is violent. It's ridiculous. Some of the things that we put our bodies through. Like my brother always said, there's some things you guys do you would never imagine doing just in the living room of your house. Just diving backwards, landing on the back of your head 5 yards. Like, you're not going to do that. And so, yeah, doing that over and over again. Our team needs a rest. But I think the vision is clear to remain focused. But come back into work, when it's time to go, and be ready to go. But yeah, I think the rest is good right now. Because I think there's excitement, but it allows us to also look at, okay, we can be excited, but what are the things that we have to correct to continue to get better? It gives us a chance to breathe and do that as well.
What was it like for you just to see James again?
Oh, I love Jameis. I went straight to see him. Love Jameis. I think DeMario said it best. The thing I've been most impressed with is his walk with the Lord. Just what he's, the kind of person, the kind of husband, the kind of dad, that he is and that he wants to be. It's inspiring. You get around him and it's like, how are you not inspired? And I thought he played fantastic. I thought he balled out. He's a great quarterback, and to see him come in and play well, and to see him again, as soon as I saw him, I just start smiling, because every time he comes in the room, you're either smiling or you're laughing, it's one or the other. So to see him again, it meant the world to me, because we had a great time together, and so I wish him the absolute best the rest of the season, and nothing but success, because he deserves it.
You kind of talked about the last couple of weeks, just feeling comfortable with the offense, but like you're playing with a bunch of guys that you haven't really played with this year, and you're not receivers. Like how have you guys managed to establish that kind of connection to where you feel comfortable?
It's just a lot of communication. To say it easily, a lot of communication, a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of, and the guys I'm playing with, besides Kev being a young guy, they have experience, And so when I say something, it's not like I'm having to teach them what that means or anything like that. I can just say something envious like, yeah, I got you, bro. Like, the one post he ran today, I had to throw it early. He's like, nah, I saw it. He's like, we talked about the angle and all that. I was like, I had to throw it early. He's like, yeah, no. He understands. He already knows, It's just nice having that experience to just say it one time or say something and he's on it. And so, it's not like, there's 4 just rookies coming into play, and you got to teach them literally everything. These guys have played a lot of football. They've been through a lot of training camps and things like that, and so all that stuff has helped us. Having experience at those positions, because Chris and Sheed, those are our guys. And those are my guys. I love them to death, but. With them being out, it's allowed these guys to come in, and thankfully they have experience, to understand, hey, this is what this route, it may be a route that's called something different here, but he's run it at some point. And it's like, hey, I need you at, top of the numbers, or hey, man, I'm going to throw this thing bottom of the numbers, just be ready for it. In cover 2, I'll throw it here, And it's not like, wait, what does that mean? It's like, yep, gotcha. And so I think that has helped us a lot.
These last 2 weeks do remind me, you guys, kind of what's still possible?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to Albert Breer, and I told Albert, I said, we never have felt like we weren't a good football team. We had some adversity to go through, and did we walk through about 2 months of it. And so to be on the other side and get some success, I think it gives us confidence. I think it gives us confidence in what we believed of ourselves. It gives us confidence in what we thought of each other. And the 2 teams that we played have been, I just speak offensively, like those are 2 good defenses, and we've been able to score enough points to win football games. And I think that just continues to breed confidence in us that, yes, we are still the same team, from the first couple weeks. We're still that team. And is it going to be perfect going forward? No, but we still should have confidence every time we take the field that we have a chance.
Were you aware you broke the Drew Brees curse today? I think fans say every game's attendance since 2021, Saints have lost until today.
Oh, really? Well, every time I see Drew, it's good to see him. I'm like, bro, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. All right. Well, I promise you, it's not Drew's fault if we ever lost a game. I think we can all agree on that.
Maybe the Rizzy mojo overwhelmed the Brees.
I hope so. But we want Drew to show up every game. So yeah, hopefully whatever that was, I hope it's over.
Is there something seriously to what Riz is doing, just the intangibles, or is that overplayed? Just the way he carries himself.
No. I think he has a very a very good feel on how to deal with this generation of player, and he's doing it really well. The way he's able. I've been around a few guys that are really good at. The way that they love their team and love their players, but can demand from them, and guys will appreciate and respond. And that's a fine line to walk, and he walks it really well. And so I think that he's definitely had an impact on our football team for sure. And I'm excited for him, and we want to keep winning, so that maybe he gets a chance, to be the coach here for a long time. And so that's what we want as players. And so hopefully we can continue to have success, keep winning, and give him that opportunity. But for me to say that he hasn't had an impact would be wrong, because he has absolutely had an impact on our team, and he always has. But as a special teams coordinator, it's a little different. But when you're the head coach and everyone, eyes go from one person, now they're all on you, and motivate us. Where are we headed? I think he's pointed us and steered the ship in the right direction, and hopefully we can just keep executing at a high level for him, because we love him, absolutely. No, there's no doubt about it. But when you think, we all thought Celtics when he said that.
He made up for it too.
Magic, thank you. Huh?
I thought that he did that for you to make it like.
I hope so. I'll give Double D the credit. He probably is that smart that he knew that. So. Good?
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So, guys, tomorrow, 10:30, it's Ugo Amadi on the
Back in the Caesars Superdome alongside Scott Shanley, I'm Erin Summers. The Saints taking a 35-14 win over the Cleveland Browns today, and a lot of it was due to Taysom Hill. He exploded, 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I kid you not, he was standing next to Drew Brees on the field, and Drew was not signing any autographs. It was Taysom Hill. It has been his day, Scott.
It was that type of day. Usually when Drew's down here on the field, he's getting mobbed, and he got mobbed, but it was the Taysom Hill game. I think when people say the Taysom Hill game, they're going to refer to this game. He was outstanding. I mean, it's definitely one of those games where as a player, you kind of get in the zone. It's almost like basketball where the rim feels huge that night. Taysom Hill was in the zone today, and they couldn't tackle him, and he's so powerful and just an outstanding football player. So, yeah, he's definitely earning all these autographs after the game.
Saints and Browns tied 14-all in the third quarter, but the Saints closed this one out, scoring 21 points and holding the Browns to none in the fourth quarter of action. Finished in a big way, all 3 phases, a lot of good plays, and now the Saints go into a bye week coming off 2 wins. As a former player, what is the mentality going into the bye week, and how good is it to come in after a win?
Well, it's bye weeks are always good. You'll never hear a player say they don't want to go into a bye week unless you've rattled off like 8 wins in a row and you just want to keep it going and keep this team. You could make that argument, but I think where they are health-wise, where you are in the season, everybody's banged up at this point in the season. Everybody is looking forward to this bye week, especially with a win, especially with Thanksgiving right around the corner. A lot of people have a lot to be thankful for, and it helps you go home and smile, and it helps you recharge for that stretch run. Because like we said to start the show, you've lost 7 in a row. Why can't you win 7 in a row? This team, the way they played the last 2 weeks, you don't want to guarantee or say that, but heck, they're talented enough to do it. So it is always good to have a bye week to rest up and refresh mentally and make a stretch run at the end of the year.
Yeah, I like how that sounds, and I also like the fact that the Falcons are losing to the Broncos right now, which is good, because then if they lose today, the Saints would be just 2 games back. So there are possibilities out there if the Saints can continue to put together some dubs.
I mean, crazier things have happened, and you look at the Falcons and the Saints have a lot of the same opponents to end the year, like opponents. They are a couple of games ahead, but Tampa's sitting there 1 game ahead. They have a lot of injuries. If this team keeps playing the way they are, running the football, defense come around and get a little bit better, you certainly look at the end of this season's schedule. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but these are a lot of winnable games. Saints are going to be favored in probably most of these games outside the Commanders, so just keep sticking to win 1 week at a time. Go 1-0 every week and see where it falls at the end of the year.
All right, Scott, thank you. Saints fans, enjoy this win, and we'll be back with you in 2 weeks as the Saints host the LA Rams. Thanks so much for joining us right here on the Saints Postgame Show.